Welcome to the Conversations and Coffee
Thank you.
Cultural Arts Center, that we are all, by virtue of our geniuses in technology, we are virtually present to the Cultural Arts Center, downtown Columbus. And I'm Ellen O'Shaughnessy, coordinator of the program. The show in our Cultural Arts Center gallery in the fall that you shared with Kristen Morris, who is with us today, and David Leonard, he has many family commitments, so he couldn't be with us. But Lauren Pahn is saying, and it sounds so timely in the light of what has happened to our country as of yesterday and to today. Lauren Pahn, the curator, says, in this essence of character, human character emerges from each fictional character in the exhibit. Playfulness, whimsicalness, darkness, and pain, ingenuity, and resilience. Invited characters, such as the ones we experience in your work, Steve, invite us to expand and explore our own world. And as you say so beautifully, art is therapy. The essence of character is how we relate to the individual. Emotional reaction that it gives to us, as you say. Sad characters can be sad, but they also can be angry, happy, depending on the essence or feeling that the character's trying to achieve. I think it would be timely to bring this essence of character spirit into a call for healing for our country. I thought if we could just listen to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So in this essence of character, we are going to journey with you, Steve. You've graduated from the Ringley School of Art and Design in Sarasota, Florida, with a bachelor's degree in illustration.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the Tompkins Cortland Community College of Dryden, New York, with an associate's degree in graphic design.
Yes.
You shared with me that with your multidimensional cartoons and parallel artistic style realities, as you say, in a lowbrow, surrealistic form, it's a lot to take in. Whether showing up in a Clutter magazine, and you want to tell us about that, out of New York City, or making an appearance on The Price is Right, your work has made some remarkable exposure in many ways. And what's the story of the t-shirt? Tell us the story of that.
From The Price is Right?
Yeah. Well, how did that all happen?
So a friend of mine who I grew up with got the opportunity to go on The Price is Right and asked me for a design for a t-shirt that he could wear when he got into the audition part. And when they pick the next people out of the audience, like they pre-choose these people, so he had to have some sort of like thing that stood out that made somebody want to, choose them. So he had me design these characters for the shirt, and then he wore it, and they were interested, and they talked with him a little bit about it, and then he got on the show. And then he was able to talk to Drew Carey himself with the cartoon that was about him, and he gave me a shout out, and I put it up on Instagram and everything. It was a really fun thing to do.
Oh, that's great. And the combination of your work has been like referred to analogous to Where's Waldo, The Simpsons. Uh, just a lot of fun. And as you say, there is a therapy about humor in art. And you've been to a number of places exemplifying and sharing your work. And you've lived in New York, Florida, Colorado, Lima, Peru, and Columbus, Ohio. So
Yep.
take it away with this gift that you have that you're bringing to us today.
What do you want to talk about exactly?
Yeah, your work. As your work comes across to us.
Yes, I'm about to share the screen here, so give me 1 second. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Everybody can see, right? Just checking.
Great.
All right.
Okay. So this was all for the Essence of Character show at the Cultural Arts Center. These are just 3 of the black and white pieces I had that were kind of mid-sized. 2 of them are actually being colored right now, and some of my newer work. But one of the pieces in the middle talks about a hell type theme, a lot of like kind of cartoonish hellscapes or whatever. So I like to do a lot of those. A lot of this work might have those kind of themes. So, but usually just a lot of detail and a lot to get immersed into. You really have to zoom in on this in order to get the full effect. But
well, I went into the Cultural Arts Center, as you know, it's open and closed and open and closed, but I got in to see your show, saw Kristen's work too, and it's just delightful. Standing in front of that, you're just searching. Tell us something about one of the images in there, Steve.
Like one of the characters in here?
Yeah.
Well, geez, I have to remember this one. Oh yeah, so there's a demon with like a huge like afro beard, and it's coming out of it, and yeah, it's a bit wacky, but like I think hell is kind of a ridiculous idea in my opinion. I don't know if I'm agnostic or atheist or Methodist, which is what I grew up. I don't know what I am, but I don't really identify too much with any of that. I enjoy like kind of making fun of hell and the whole ridiculous idea. So making these ridiculous characters is pretty therapeutic for me.
Do you see these pieces as sort of like a triptych, or like are they supposed to be together?
No, these 3 were just black and white. They didn't necessarily have anything to do with one another, though.
So what's the medium?
The medium's pen and ink. I use Pilot G2 pens, and I think they're either on illustration board or watercolor paper or mixed media paper. Sometimes some paint markers if I need something to pop a little bit more. But
it must take hours to do this.
Yeah, I mean, it takes some time, but I work on a lot of different stuff at the same time. So I feel like I'm always kind of finishing projects and starting new ones. And you just work on something a little bit every day, and you'd be surprised how much you actually get done. You just got to set yourself like a short time frame to work on one thing, and then a short time frame to work on another thing, maybe like 10 minutes to 30 minutes at least. And then you'd be surprised how quick you can pump stuff out, even with working a full-time job.
Yeah, I was going to say that job you have, serving people on a continual basis all day, huh? And then you come back to do this. Wow.
And like I said, therapeutic. So
Uh-huh. I love this work.
so this is a found object piece. What was he called? Johnny Can, I think. He was a tip jar originally. Um, People used to throw money in there. They thought it was a tip jar, so it was kind of like a joke for a while. When I had my studio over at 400 West Rich. Since then, he's living in my basement, but um, his base consists of VHS tapes, which I like to reuse a lot. VHS tapes were like really important in my growing up, and they're pretty much obsolete, but I still have a VHS player at home, and whatever things like can't be played, I like to recycle those in some ways. There's just so much garbage and so much junk, if you can turn it into something, clean it up and make it um at least interesting, then it might find a better home. I don't know. Yeah, this is just a good
Work. It was the perfect work coming in from into the Cultural Arts Center to see your show. And I thought, with COVID all around, there's just something this work is saying back to it. You're not going to get the best of me. Huh? What about those teeth? What is that? Or did you intend that they be teeth?
Those are bullets.
Oh. But that's the mouth opening and the...
Yeah. This is from like Halloween clearance items. That's where I'd get a lot of that stuff because it'd be really cheap. And I was, if somebody doesn't buy it, can get thrown out. So
amazing.
yeah, it's just a whole bunch of found objects that I've gotten over the years because I'm always collecting little odds and ends. And this isn't like the main thing that I like to do, but I like to do something with these interesting items that I come across, try to make something even more interesting with them.
Now, when you studied in art school, I bet you had a particular fancy toward color. You've got a wonderful sense of color in this.
Well, thank you. I did learn a lot about color when I was in school, especially at Ringling. But with my pen and ink work, I didn't really start putting color into it until much later after college. Pretty much all my ink work was black and white, but I didn't do too much of this stuff. I did try to do a lot of sculpture. I did some toy design after I got directly out of school when I moved to Colorado. But most of my focus was on the black and white work. So thank you for the. Yeah, this is a new piece. I don't have a name for this one. I just wanted to put it in here because it was one of the newer pieces I've done and I wanted free exposure. But it's just a black and white work with paint marker, but I used it. It was actually, this was a rescued frame and foam core that I had ripped the side of it off, and I was using paint markers and different kinds of black markers on the surface of it, and it created some interesting effects when I scrubbed at it a little bit. So it's another kind of alien piece.
Well, tell us about how it is alien. What's going on there?
Well, there's just lots of like tubes and things pouring into other things, and there's the buck tooth kind of alien thing with the big ears over there.
Yeah.
I have to like remember everything is in there. I have to like rediscover it when I come back in. I'm like, wow.
When you start one of these pieces, do you just start and see where it takes you, or do you have this all visualized in your mind?
Well, it depends on what I'm doing it for. Like if it's commissioned, I have to think a little bit more about what's in it. But when I just do these things are more of like therapeutic. So a lot of the background stuff, especially, is very just natural, organic. You just go for it and see what happens. And it usually comes out pleasant enough because I've come up with a consistent kind of patterning that I do in the background. But I just really want characters to feel like lost in the detail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, this one is actually much larger than it looks.
Uh-huh. I remember that one.
Yeah. I have a story I have to admit about this piece, so like everyone's gonna know about what I did to this piece before, but I may have spilled some beer on the side of one of these, like on the right side of this piece, and I had to like somehow save it, so I dried it off, and then I like put a lot of marker combinations on it, spray coated it and stuff, so it didn't a beer flavor.
Oh, we would never know if you hadn't told us that.
Not everyone's gonna know, but I felt like I had to admit something about this piece.
Oh,
It still came out, pretty fun considering it was pretty much ruined. But
hmm.
but there's just giant monkeys in the background and this giant like centipede thing going over this house, which is Uncle Id's place, which I'm talking about, the id in psychology.
Uh-huh.
And just futuristic, alien and I don't know, they're in a war with these apes, and the apes are wearing ties, and they're carrying weird like olive things. I
Mm.
mean, I a lot of this stuff I wanted to put into like a formal book, where I could have a better description of the pieces. But I remember, working through all this stuff, but I never really came up with like a story behind them with a lot of them, unless I had to.
Hmm. With all that's going on, it's a beautiful design. And you talk about clutter. I don't feel that. I feel design in it. Is there any kind of a purpose that you have about that, or does it just happen?
Well, the other important part is not only color, but the oh geez, what is the word I'm thinking of? How things are arranged on the canvas or whatever, background to the foreground, and making sure that the
Like the composition?
I couldn't think of the word.
I know.
You have to make things important in each area of the piece. So whether you add different complementing colors next to each other, but you do that kind of all through the piece, and it makes the piece busy and just that in another level. You know what I mean? Because the color seems to pull a lot of characters apart, so you can see it better than if it was in black and white.
True.
But if you add those complements everywhere you go, like in the piece, it'll become busy again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm. But what I experience is a unity in it.
Yeah.
And you want to do that as you're creating this, right?
Yeah. I mean, the composition is balanced and the colors are balanced.
Uh-huh.
The lights are balanced, in my opinion. So.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of markers do you use when you color your pieces?
Well, I usually use a lot of what is it, Artist Loft?
Uh-huh.
Ones you get at Michael's. Those are the most inexpensive sets I usually can find that I feel like are at the they're better than Sharpies. It's better than using something more industrial.
Mhm.
Some of these markers are like the Copics, which are, a lot more expensive. I like to use those, but they just cost way too much.
Oh, artist. Okay. Do you prefer working in black and white or in color?
I've been drawn to color more recently, just because it's more exploratory for me because I haven't done it as much, I think. But I can always do black and white work and be happy with that as well. Like if I just have a sketchbook and I go somewhere, I'm only going to be able to do black and white work. So
Mm-hmm.
a couple drawings off something when I'm just gone somewhere or going to pick something up or whatever.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I was just curious.
Wow.
Is a new experimental type of piece. That I have two pieces that are kind of experimental in this way, where I had taken paint on a large canvas and covered it once, with like a primer, and then covered it again with black. But then I would use found objects to scrape the I guess like a palette knife, in that kind of fashion, scrape the different surfaces of it, and I would see like creatures in it. So I would try to pull from that, see what would come again more organically. But I wanted like a kind of deep sea, kind of really, really dark, like Mariana Trench type feel of where you were in the piece, because of all these really strange creatures that you see, and everything's kind of murky. And then there's like that one guy in the bottom left that's kind of really bright, and it's pretty much the only reason you can see everything else.
Ooh.
At least that was my intention.
You shared with me you have a son. What's he think of an image like this?
Well, yeah, I have like a stepson. Yeah. He is drawn to a lot of my work. He recognizes things that I draw before adults usually do. He can immediately say, oh, that's a snake, or that's Mario or whatever I end up doing at the time. And him and I do a lot of drawing together, and I feel like he's inspired by me to do work, which I'm very happy about.
Uh-huh.
Plus it keeps him sitting. But yeah, he's just my stepson. Kind of not a thing.
Your son. I just want to say to you that this wonderful rabbi said to my husband as he's introducing my mother to him, Rabbi Folkman.
Yeah.
And this is my mother-in-law. And he said, oh no, this is your mother. Son, behold your mother. Mother, behold your son. We never said son-in-law after that. Mother-in-law, son-in-law. Your son is your son. Right, Steve?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like that a lot.
How old is he?
I have kids, but
How old is he?
he's 5, almost 6.
Uh-huh. Beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Yeah, we actually spent I think New Year's Eve doing some drawing as well, after we had done the usual or not New Year, Christmas Eve.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Great. So you're doing the drawings together. That's marvelous.
Yeah.
Huh.
Fun. It gets him working on stuff, and he can work on homework too, because it's motivating for him just to be putting pen to paper, I think. I let him do my stuff sometimes, but that doesn't happen too often, because he should be using like not permanent stuff.
Oh.
And this is the behemoth.
Ooh. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, so this one's playing with color a lot, but even when I did this in black and white, it was very busy. And that's kind of what I wanted, because this was like a crazy creature, even if you use a mythological sense, or if it's just your own, idea, which is kind of more my idea, just more abstract, I guess, but a lot of different things going on.
Mm.
The head there's like two or three heads in this, but the main head is the one in the bottom, kind of in the middle there. And it's just kind of stuck in a cage.
Mm.
That one at the bottom looks like a Chinese dragon. In Chinese festivals, they have the dragons.
Uh-huh.
He looks like what they look like.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I put a lot of characters in kind of upside down too, so that you get this feel of like if you turned the piece, you could almost read it again. This one was supposed to kind of be a little bit more flexible in that sense, more abstract. I could go through and I have a list of different, animals or shapes that you could go find in this.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Mm. Tell us, in looking at this, as we're gazing at it, relate the essence of character to it. What would you say?
Well, the different, what did I say the essence of character was? Ellen, do you remember what I said?
Well, I was just trying to think of the quote, but it's moving from a darkness into something whimsical and lightsome. And I remember you remarking that from that art is therapy, that it comes from a quality inside the essence and emerges into the character.
Yeah. And we talked about like emotional relevance, like whether you care about the character or not.
Yes. Yes.
So a lot of times people like to buy, recognizable art. Like, if I made a Batman picture for a Batman enthusiast or something, instead of making this character that's kind of a little bit more my own, there's a much higher chance that would connect with someone because they have an emotional attachment to them, or they have an emotional attachment to my character. But it's still fun to make those characters and try to make something new. And a character can mean a lot of different things, but I like to take the literal sense of the word, like making characters. So like what makes a good character? I try to make a lot of work that has different types of characters in it, some recognizable, but some like kind of my own design. And I like to kind of explore different kinds of art to make that character. So you could say with this particular one, I was going with more of an abstract feeling, but still wanted like a graphic kind of character instead of a realistic one, where I could try to do that too, but I like to do a lot of graphic characters.
Mm-hmm.
But it's how much that character can draw you in, or this set of characters can draw you in, and how they relate to each other, and especially if you have a theme that goes with it.
Well, this dragon down here, as I'm looking at it, I think the dragon has a kind of a gleeful look. It isn't forbidding. It's like I'm having a lot of fun here.
It's supposed to be crazy. Like I like making characters that just look
That,
yeah.
thank you,
But
Lynn.
it's because of what they are, they're just like
Mhm.
strange creatures and things. Like I just keep going with a character sometimes, and I just
Uh-huh.
end up with a lot of different characters at the same time. Just because I want to be able to draw your eye in different directions. And usually if you just put an eye here and an eye here and an eye here, people will be drawn to those eyes, and it's a good way to get people to move about the page.
Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, this piece was in the Essence of Character show.
Hmm. Wonderful.
This is Cthulhuicious. It's a Lovecraftian character. Cthulhu. It's like an inspiration from that. But it was another one of those pieces where I had put paint on the canvas and just scraped it up with a natural scraping type thing, and until I had different characters come out of it. And this is the one that came out of this one. So a lot of it's just a large sketch. It wasn't anything that was commissioned or anything, but my aunt is the proud owner of this one.
Ah. Well, tell us more about it.
Well, it's just got a giant octopus head on top with a dog-like character. There's just a lot of different kinds of birds and human shadow characters. And part of what I was thinking about, I guess, when I was doing it, I was thinking about terrorism a lot, actually. And that's why these little guys um, in the shadows, basically, these human characters are kind of running all over these beasts. And I don't really know what it means, but that's just kind of the feeling that I get when I think about that kind of stuff.
Now, do I see someone with an arm? Is that an arm at the bottom in the right, in the corner?
Yeah, that's the arm of the octopus character, which the head is at the top.
Yes.
That should give you an idea of how large that character is. But I really tucked it away. You have to, it doesn't come obviously. You have to like look a little close. And yeah, there's a lot of things that just, because of the way the scraping turned out, there was characters that formed on other characters. But I think that helps to give it a little bit more depth as well.
And when you were in school in the graphic design, what was emphasized there?
Well, I was in graphic design, but it was during like 1998, 1999. So there was a big emphasis on computer stuff. We were learning a little bit, but most of it was hand drawn. So we would have to do like recreations of like advertisements, and have to do the typography and all that other stuff. And it did really get me to learn how to draw a straight line. And I did get a good sense of color from that school as well. But
Great.
that's about it, though.
What took you to places like Lima, Peru? And what you traveled?
Yeah, I traveled to Lima, Peru for a year to teach English. I worked especially with like businesses. I wasn't really working so much as I was volunteering, but uh, I was going out to different businesses and teaching English and learning about their companies and stuff. And I had an ex-wife that was from there. We got married after we came back from Peru. We're no longer together, but we're still friends. So
Mhm.
it was a really fun experience, though. I got to go to Machu Picchu, and I know all of her family, and her family are really nice people, and I do wish her well. Just didn't work out.
Mhm. Mhm.
I did get to show a little bit of work at the Kennedy Park there in Lima, in Miraflores. I didn't. I worked on a lot of artwork there, and there were different things I did with my art, but I didn't go to any galleries or anything like that. So I don't have too much to talk about from Peru artistically, other than just putting stuff up at the Kennedy Park in Miraflores.
Mhm. Mm.
This piece is called "Struggle Upon the Path." Um, there's a. This one is. This is probably one that I've used um, for like promotional use. Like the What's Fest had this advertised in um, their show when they had that last year. That was in Franklinton. That was a pretty good show.
Mhm.
But there's a character in the middle who is kind of a warrior that has like this large um like black and
Yeah.
board thing, and it's all very, again, like very organic. I like to do this kind of um cartoonish Mega Man biomechanical, but still kind of a cartoon feel to this character. And there's a turtle guy over there, and there's just a lot of different characters moving all about.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh. And who compared your work to Where's Waldo?
It was somebody in Florida, I think. A friend of someone that I respect a lot said my work reminded them of H.R. Geiger, Matt Groening, and the Where's Waldo guy.
So as we would want to look for someone, it is a journey, but it's exciting when you find them.
Yeah, I like to make really busy work, so I like to put a lot of things in there for you to look at.
I don't know the work of H.R. Geiger. What is that work?
You've heard of the movie Alien?
Yes.
Aliens? Yeah, he made those.
Oh, sure.
Um, he's a German artist.
Uh-huh.
He passed away, I think, in was it late '90s or early 2000s? I don't know.
Mm.
But he did a lot of really interesting artwork and had a lot of really good character design. So that's who H.R. Geiger is.
Uh-huh. Thank you.
Yeah.
One thing I love about your work is that you can always see something new. I mean, like I have a few of your pieces at home, and one of the ones that I have, every time I look at it, I discover something new in there. It's like, it's great because I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't notice that before. And every time I walk by, I see something else, and it's like, whoa, it's just your creativity and your imagination is amazing. So
I like to hear that a lot because that's actually the number one thing that I hear from people that um, check out my work.
Mhm.
It's like the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, they always find something new when they look at the work, and uh, it's never the same thing either. Like some person will be more focused to this part of the, like this side of the piece or this particular character. And some other people are struck with different characters. So it does, not everybody reads it the same way, I think. And I enjoy that. Not just you can look at for like 2 seconds. And that's what I didn't really like about illustration. That's why I don't really, that's why I have a day job, and I do this. And I do make some money off of this, but I definitely don't support myself with this. But it's because I want to do it my way. And a lot of illustration is really, you can't make busy work because you want to convey a message very quickly. You want to illustrate something, literally. And this is kind of, I steered towards fine art, I would say, more after that, because I like to make really busy work. And it was more about making an environment, something that would pull you in versus just conveying a message quickly.
Yeah. True.
So what I've always liked to do it since I was in junior high, I think, is when I started doing this kind of work.
What's the biggest piece you've ever done?
It's actually right there. I think it's 62 by 56 or something like that inches.
That's big.
Not, big, but I haven't done like huge murals or anything like that because my work is so fine and full of detail that I end up just making it really small because I'm just doing it. And I don't really do like large size works because I make it so small.
Mm-hmm. And it's done on what's behind it? What are you drawing on for a big thing like that? What do you draw on?
Oh, this one was on the illustration board. I draw on a lot of illustration board and found mat board. When I was in high school, we used to have scrap mat board that would be recycled or thrown away, and I would take it and I would start drawing on it. And I liked the feel of having a mat board or an illustration board because it felt more like not just a piece of paper that would ripple easily. It felt like something more, I don't know, substantial. So I've always been drawn to drawing on illustration board more. It's much easier to frame like thicker paper. So I've been trying to work on thicker paper more because you have more flexibility when it comes to framing and stuff.
Wow.
Oh, this is actually the biggest piece that I've done. This is, what was this one? Oh, Rising Star. There's a giant hand kind of in the middle there. And I actually have this piece like to my right here, just leaning against the wall. There are different stars that are rising up in this, and there's different characters kind of revolving around them. There's a skull, some big eyes popping out, and some aliens. And I'm not sure if this one had any sort of meaning to it.
The design is amazing.
Thank you.
Oh. Do you have particularly, well, does any of this come out of your dream life?
I wonder if it comes from my subconscious sometimes. I used to have really vivid dreams when I was younger, but I don't have dreams that I remember. Like I lose them really fast after I wake up, if I even remember them at all. But when I was younger, I did. But I always feel like, there's stuff in the back of your mind that can come out as you're working artistically, whether it's drawing or whatever. So I think just a lot of the stuff might just leak out that way.
It's true. That's a good way to say it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Do you start in the middle and work out, or you start at the top and work down, or what?
So I have been trying to train myself and this isn't always the way I've worked, but I've been trying to train myself to start on the right side of the piece and work my way over it because I'm left-handed, and I find myself drawing characters on the left and the right, trying to balance the composition, and I would smear the characters really quickly. So I'd have to try to cover that up somehow.
Mm.
And sometimes, I'll tell you another secret of my work is that I make a lot of mistakes actually in the work, and I end up kind of letting it happen on purpose because it will add a different dimension to it. There might be like a line through something, but that ends up being like a lightning bolt, or I end up making something out of it. But honestly, a lot of those things are just mistakes that I end up fixing.
One would never know.
How would we know it's a mistake? So,
Like it's imperfections that make pieces better. Sometimes, if something is like a little weird about it, maybe that's the thing that gets your attention. I don't know. But this piece is a lot of fun to do because I don't work large too often. I end up usually working a lot of 9x12 because it's really easy to make a 9x12 quickly. But this was large that I ended up having to come back and forth to this over several months, I think.
I love the lace-like quality, like lace.
Yeah, well, there's a banner kind of going in between the fingertips, and I like to make things kind of wrapping around each other a lot, because it shows depth. Like whatever you can, a cheap way to show depth is really what I'm going for. I'm like, what can I do to make it feel like it has a little bit more depth?
Will you do it?
Found it.
Yeah. Amazing.
That character at the top left, it looks like those three fingers are holding sunglasses. Right there.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean now. Yeah.
They
are supposed to be kind of sunglass like represent. Like I didn't, that was kind of a half a character, but it was kind of half, it was so drawn into the background that it never ended up becoming a character, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I still wanted to make sunglasses. I like to use a lot of framing devices too. Putting the same design around the entire board helps to draw you in, I think, a lot. One of the things I did with this one and a lot of the other pieces.
Now, when you do something in color, would it be a piece like this that you then color in, or do you actually start with the color?
Well, recently I've started working in black and white and color at the same time, because now I have a better handle on it. But when I was working just a few years ago, I would work in black and white, and then I would have the piece in black and white for a long time before I would decide to color it. Because I liked the work the way it was in black and white. And I ended up just making prints of the black and white pieces before I would color them. So at least I would have some copies of it. But I do work on the original piece usually when I'm coloring it. So I would just add marker to this, or paint marker, or usually marker because it's a little bit more, translucent. It's a little bit more forgiving. The paint marker I would just kind of add for emphasis.
As you say that, something that you didn't want to do and you couldn't erase it or change it leads you to something that kind of surprises you.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I get surprised all the time when I do my work. It's usually a very good surprise, but I
yeah.
usually have to complete a certain amount of the work before I'm pleased with it, because I need to get balanced out a little bit, so I start to feel the environment. But if you're not really sure what's going on in the piece, like if you just draw maybe one character, you might, oh, that's kind of fun, but I just toss it aside and work on the next thing. But if you put a few pieces in there and get them to interact, then the piece becomes a lot more fun. And then you figure out a pattern or a design element in the background, then you finish the piece.
Great.
Pretty much my equation for making like one of these pieces of work. And then with color, you work light dark because it's marker and it's not forgiving and it doesn't erase.
Yeah, that would be a challenge, huh?
Yeah. I end up layering the markers, adding the lighter ones, and then adding the mediums and then the darks. Usually I'd add at least 3 tones of each color. That's it. Made it through all of them.
Wonderful.
Hey.
Loved it.
Thank you.
As you said, art is therapy. You called us to soul talk therapy after what we've gone through in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, I'm definitely pulling my demons out.
It was a gift. Yeah. Thank you. Kristen, you have any thoughts there? If you can unmute, having been together in this wonderful essence of character.
I think all of our work went together really well for the show. And I'm really a fan of Steve's work a lot. Like I said, I mean, his imagination, people say to me, oh, I would love to get inside your head to see my work. And I'm like, no, you wouldn't. But I mean, Steve is so creative, and the stuff that he comes up with, I mean, it's just like blows me away, the creativity involved. And I mean, his technique is phenomenal. So I just really enjoy his work a lot. I think he does a great job.
Thanks, Rick.
Oh yeah.
I feel the same about your work as well.
No, thank you. It's funny because he does most of his work that he focuses on is 2-dimensional, and most of mine is 3-dimensional. But I think, it strikes a good balance, and I think we had that in the show, and I've learned a lot from him as far as like how he puts things together, and his character development and stuff. We did a show together called Oddmall a few years ago.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting experience too. So we had an interesting time with that. So.
Well, as I see Katie there, Katie Funk, Katie Fisher is going to be our artist in 2 weeks, 21st of January. Katie, tell us something about what you're going to share with us.
I'm going to kind of gear it towards sort of what steered me to Columbus and kind of give a little bit of background. I'm not exhibiting in the Cultural Arts Center anywhere right now. So I kind of wanted to give a little bit of a backstory to start and then sort of lead through where projects went and kind of what I'm working on today.
Wonderful. We look forward to it.
Yeah.
And Steve, thank you. Thank you. It was a great time with you, a gifted time. And the show, as I shared with you and Kristen in the fall, was a gift. And as I watch people come in and out, and Katie, you saw me bounce in and out, right?
Yep.
when is it open? When is it closed? During this crazy COVID. It's just such a gift for our spirits to go through these days one at a time, which are indeed a challenge, are they not? But we're together, are we not? The Cultural Arts Center downtown. And one of these days, the doors will open and we'll all go in again in the way that has blessed us since how many years?
Yeah.
I should know the answer to this. I think it's like 140 some.
Is it?
Wow.
It's something insane. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't know that. Yeah, I should know this history, but anytime I get asked like a good trivia question, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah.
At the time when I started working there in the 80s, that where we have the gift shop was the guard room. And all of the, I call them instruments of survival from the 1865 Civil War, all of that was preserved. And now I'm delighted to see it is a gift shop.
Yeah.
All right. Well, take care, everybody. Good day.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve.
Guiding.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.